Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mundane Matt, and welcome back to $3 Theater. Sorry for the delay last week. There was lots of good news that I just couldn't cover. I got really sick. You might hear it still a little bit in my voice. I'm not 100% over it yet, but I just got to get back to talking about movies because there's so much other drama and bullshit in the world that at least this makes me happy, and that's why I'm here to talk to you guys about shit I like and shit that I love. But just as a quick caveat, so before I got super sick, I did pick up these little bobbleheads here. I got Vader and I got Boba Fett. Right? These are called wobbles, I think. I don't know. I found them at the store. There's a whole bunch of them on clearance, so I bought them. I bought the two I wanted. They have like a Jyn Erso one and a like some like Death Trooper and like Scarif Trooper. So they have some stuff from the new movie. But you know, give me a Chewie, give me a Han, give me a Luke, give me a Yoda. Shit, I'd even take a fucking Greedo. But Boba Fett and Darth Vader are two to start off with, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. You know, because I happen to be a Star Wars fan and all that good, happy, fun stuff. But so yeah, without any further ado, let's just jump into the news. I got some good stories picked out for you today, like whether or not Vincent D'Onofrio thinks that Kingpin will be in the next Marvel movie, or what's going to happen with the upcoming Oscars and how they're going to be televised, and then a few other good things as well. So stay tuned for $3 Theater. All right, first things first, I do want to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio and Kingpin and the MCU and all that jazz, because ever since the announcement that Spider-Man would be coming to the MCU, thanks North Korea, people have been really wanting Kingpin and Spider-Man to meet and to fight, and me too, because I grew up watching the Spider-Man animated series on Fox back in the day, and given the fact that Kingpin was the primary villain all the way through that, very much made me as a fan want to see that play out on the big screen, or fuck it, even to make a goddamn side series or some shit, you know, I don't know. But according to D'Onofrio, that's not going to happen. He says here, I would love to switch over to the movies, but I think it's pretty much been said that that's not going to happen, or at least not for a very long time. I think Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige explained that, and that's what makes the most sense. He said the film universe is too jam-packed. It's already hard enough. If they keep bringing in big characters that they have to service in the writing, it's not going to work. They're trying to figure out already how to individualize more and at the same time keep the Avengers going. It makes sense not to mix the TV stuff. There's just too many characters. Cheer. But he's got a point. He's got a point. There are too many characters. All right. I mean, the rumored budget for Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, or whatever they're calling it now, is supposedly $1 billion, and 400 million of that is going to go to celebrity like salaries. You know, Robert Downey Jr. got 40 million for Captain America. I think he made more money in that movie than Chris Evans did. You know, I mean, he is clearly the headliner, and I get it from a budget perspective and a script perspective. I understand it. You know, one of the problems that people had with Batman v Superman is Wonder Woman's inclusion. Like, why the fuck was Diana Prince there? Especially before the Wonder Woman movie came out. Why, you know, like, why is it that the movie felt like a Justice League setup instead of its own standalone thing by showing us cameos of the Flash and Cyborg and everything else? Well, the thing is Batman v Superman was in fact a setup for Justice League. I think no one can really argue that anymore. But when it comes to Marvel, Marvel has the shows, it has the movies, it's got the Netflix series, it has a whole wide cast that people do want to see brought together, right? And you figure Infinity War would be the best way to tie it together. Well, that's not going to happen. But there's also a big thing there that D'Onofrio hasn't talked about, and a lot of people haven't talked about. It's not just the script and the money. It's also New York versus LA. Ike Perlmutter versus Kevin Feige. Feige does the cinematic universe side of things, doing gangbusters. Perlmutter handles a lot of the TV side of things. And from what I've heard, he's one of the reasons why it's not coming together as well as people would like. You know, the cinematic universe has been fragmented in that particular way. And I think a lot of that has to do with Kevin Feige making that power play to Bob Iger, basically saying, if you don't, you know, back me on Civil War and bring in Robert Downey Jr., I'm out. and Bob Iger going to Perlmutter and saying Feige answers to us now, I think that really caused a rift with the MCU as a whole. And I've talked about that in the past. But another thing to keep in mind, though, is that we do know that Gamora is coming over to Avengers Infinity War. I wouldn't be surprised if all of them come over, in one way or another. You've also got rumors that the Marvel Netflix series is going to have some tie-in with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that should be something to see what happens with that, and hopefully, build that from a bit. And we have had part of the MCU come to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Lady Sif, Nick Fury, and a few other characters have popped up. Sitwell, for example, so they do, they do play with it a little bit, but not in the way that I think fans want. And as Marvel, Christ, gets ready to unveil its 15th film in just like 4.5 months, it makes sense as to why they're really holding off on putting in the characters from the Netflix series. What I would like, just to be out there, just have that put out there, is for Marvel Television on the Netflix side of things to maybe ramp up production a little bit more. I know we have The Defenders coming out this year, that 8-episode series I can't wait for. Iron Fist is in 2 months from yesterday. And then Luke Cage season 2 and Jessica Jones season 2 has been greenlit. But eventually, like, are in the Punisher's coming sometime this year, apparently, because they're filming it right now. I mean, it's like all of these things. Are they going to have 4 or 5 yearly shows with these characters on Netflix? And I think they should. If they're not going to give us that connection, that way, then they need to keep the content coming in a way that satiates fans. Fans can sit there and say, I'm okay with an Avengers movie every 3 years, provided I get other character moments with my favorite characters in the meantime, right? Or new characters coming in and so on and so forth. Netflix has the ability to tell these amazing, compelling stories once a year with these characters. Now, they might run the risk of overdoing it, right? I think having a year maybe with Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Punisher. I mean, shit, I've even heard talks of like Misty Knight getting her own show, which she was a weak part of Luke Cage to me. Luke Cage as a whole was weak. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the best thing ever. But I'd like to see if they could take that as a way of like maybe like doing the first half of the year is like Daredevil, maybe Iron Fist, maybe like break it off into like quarters or something, and then go from there. So I don't know, man, I'm kind of all over the place here, I admit that, but I look at something like this and I don't see despair. I see the ability to pivot to something that will make fans happy. But that being said, I also don't see why they can't just drop in, like Matt Murdock for some fucking cameo appearance. Like, oh, someone needs a lawyer and they're in New York City. Like Spider-Man's in New York City and Peter Parker does something and ends up needing a lawyer. And then all of a sudden here comes fucking, Matt Murdock, and he's just like, oh, Murdock and Associate, or Murdock and Nelson, or Nelson and Murdock, sorry. And then have that just little moment, just a wee moment, and then go from there. I think I'd be happy with that. And I think a lot of other people would be happy with that too. But what are your thoughts? Okay, now jumping over into news that will probably never, ever, ever happen. Because, god damn it, we're not that lucky. We're not that good. We're just not that good, people. Basically, what happened is Guillermo Del Toro kind of posted this informal poll on his Twitter, basically saying, like, Hellboy 3, right? With one answer being yes, and the other one being hell yes. And then he followed it up an hour later with, the Hellboy 3 poll is our chance to vote the right way in 2017. If 100K votes comes in 24 hours, I promise to have a sit down with DePearl and Mignola. Now, I'm a fan of the Hellboy movies. I really, really like the first one in 2004, and then 2008's follow-up, Golden Army, I thought was great as well, and it's gotten better with subsequent viewings. It's just the whole thing that's happened with it is pretty good. But Hellboy 3 has just not, it's just never kind of come to fruition. And that might be just, for the cost involved with making Hellboy 2, the fact that it didn't connect very well on a box office level, but did very well on home video, has achieved cult movie status in the last 9 years. I don't know what is going to happen with this. And I think Del Toro is kind of teasing this because it gets teased every once in a while. Ron Perlman tweeted out a hashtag for it last year. People lost their shit over, myself included, but I'm just wondering if Pacific Rim's failure to launch the way that I think Del Toro wanted it to, at least here in the United States, Crimson Peak not really connecting with any audience in theaters, or reviewers didn't really care for it too much. I think that didn't help it out very well. And then of course, I think the best thing he's done in a long time is Troll Hunters on Netflix, which is just the animated show, about a kid who becomes a troll hunter. And it's really good. It's like 26 episodes, and it's well crafted, well put out there, and everything else. Now, the thing is, if I were Guillermo Del Toro, what I would do right now is I would meet with Perlman and Mignola, and I would just say one word. I would just say one word to them: Netflix. Netflix would be your best bet, right? They would be your best bet, but I wouldn't do HELLBOY 3. I wouldn't do HELLBOY 3. I would do HELLBOY the TV series, right? Because for right now, what we've got is like Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. The first season just came up. I just finished it last night, and it's got, 4 books it covers in the first season, right? Which it just told them very well. What about a comic book adaptation? My last segment was about the Marvel Netflix series, and how good those are. Why not use Netflix and the fact that they spent $6 billion in 2016 on original content, get some money, make it a TV series, and then go from there? Because HELLBOY could be a good series. Perlman does have the acting chops to be able to sustain a TV series for a number of years. And what's Selma Blair been up to? Right? Doug Jones, he's on Star Trek Discovery, but knowing CBS, it might be canceled because it's not going to be on their Prime TV network. So I'm just saying, it's like, you could play with it, and CG graphics and everything else is a lot better than it was in 2004 and 2008. So I think if I was going to push HELLBOY 3, I would definitely go for Netflix or Amazon or another streaming service, because that is quite frankly where people are going in terms of getting their entertainment. If you think about it, just look at the box office failures of 2016. There were a lot of them, but the box office successes, right, mostly were ones that were big spectacle films. And that is kind of making its resurgence. The smaller films aren't doing as well theatrically, but they're finding homes on home video. Batman v Superman did kind of fuck up in the box office, but spent 5 weeks at #1 on home video because the extended cut was good. Ghostbusters, which was a horrible movie, did well on home video for a short period of time, even though it failed to connect in any box office really anywhere. It was a stinker. But I'm just saying where we are right now with the way we consume entertainment, give me 10 episodes of HELLBOY at 44 minutes a pop. I will watch the fuck out of that in the first weekend, right? So would so many other people. And given Del Toro's experience with Netflix and serialized television through not only Troll Hunters on Netflix and The Strain, adapting HELLBOY to something like that, I think would be better. And that's what I'd like to see. So, and hopefully Guillermo is thinking that himself, because a movie might be too much to ask for, but a TV show isn't. And how weird is that, right? I know this is about movies. This show is about movies, but TV gets incorporated in that as well. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Is that something you'd want to see? Let me know. Guys, if there's one thing I'm not a fan of, it's the knockoff movie market. I've never been a huge fan of asylum films. I know that they're like a lot of times really dumb to watch. I've watched a few of them, but I just never found myself wanting to watch those kind of films. And the thing is, though, those movies aren't aimed at me. They're aimed at tricking the uninformed movie audience, and that's where Asylum has made its money. And that's pretty fucking sad. But what we've got here is a very similar case, except it's not a person trying to make a knockoff story. It's just straight copyright fucking infringement, in my opinion. So over in the UK, a film popped up called Leatherface. Now, this is the image you're seeing on the screen right now. And if you look at the cover of the movie, you're thinking like, oh, meet the world's most ruthless serial killer, Leatherface, blah, 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 blah. You're like, oh, you think it's going to be a prequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Makes sense. That's kind of what it's alluding to, except it's not what that movie is. What it is it's a movie about four wannabe actors take part in a horrifying reality show in which a serial killer stalks them in a remote cabin, and the reactions are filmed for TV. The survivor of the week is promised $1 million and the starring role in their very own horror film. The only problem is the role of the killer is being played by a maniacal murderer who has been let out of an insane asylum to continue his reign of terror. Does that have anything to do with Leatherface? No. But just so you know, there is actually a Leatherface prequel that is coming at some point in time, and it's called Leatherface, and it's been shot. It was shot 2 years ago, and it stars Stephen Dorff. So it's like, this is blatantly fucking copyright violation in the UK. So it might find a little bit harder time getting that taken care of. This movie is really was really called Playing with Dolls: Bloodlust, which is a sequel to the director's first film, Playing with Dolls, which came out in 2015. So apparently the distribution company, which is probably the ones to blame in this situation, thought to themselves, well, we need to make this more marketable. So let's release it as Leatherface, fuck with its preview, and then just sell people a shoddy fucking product. And the thing is, no one's buying it, which is great. Like, no one is buying that this is a Leatherface movie, at least on any official capacity. These kind of shady tactics really bother me, just as a movie goer and a fan of the entire industry, because what it does is it just delineates trust in direct to TV or direct to video movies. You know, it's a lot of stupid shit that gets pushed as a way to just sell a cheap product. And quite frankly, DTV films have been doing better recently. There's been a lot higher quality put into them, and they're not all complete shit. But when this kind of stuff happens, it just makes you not want to trust that level of cinema, and you know, you miss out on some good movies that way. And yeah, it just really irks the shit out of me when they do that. All right, everyone, that wraps up this video. Sorry for the change in appearance. My camera battery died, as well as the battery on literally everything else I have that records. So I'm just using this webcam to finish it up. Anyway, my name is Mundane Matt. That's been this episode of 3 Buck Theater. Please leave your comments below. Love to know your thoughts. If you want to share it around to all your movie-loving friends, that would really, really, really help. And be sure to check back later for another episode of the show from me, where I will, in fact, have a fully charged battery without any goddamn problems. All right, guys. See you later. Peace out.